Welcome to Ruler School.
I don't even
Sponsored
use
by
that
these.
intro on the podcast anymore.
That's why I
wait,
need
really?
to do the intro. Yeah, that's why I need to be the guy who's like here making sure that we have the glory of this intro. We can't just.
Who's our sponsor? Yeah, you gotta do Odyssey Games.
Odyssey
Games.
Games.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sponsor. Yep.
Brought to you by Odyssey Games.
I'll
where
make
you
sure
can
to
go
do
for
the
all of
Odyssey
your,
Games part next time. Yeah,
where you can go for all your singles and sealed product needs. And
that's not where I go for my singles. I go to Tinder. I mean, what?
Or if he's talking about Force
Or Odyssey Games is what I definitely.
Or if he's talking about trying to get singles for Force, he texts Jeremy and says, "Hey, Jeremy, bring me these cards."
Because Jeremy goes to Odyssey Games.
It's true.
Good sponsor.
I do go to Odyssey. So, with that out of the way, hello everybody. Welcome back after our several long weeks of Force of Will, including the World Championships, to the Teachers Lounge, your favorite live Force of Will podcast featuring myself, Jeremy Franklin, and back for a hopefully permanent basis, Ryan Miles.
Hey, it's me, everybody. I'm Ryan Miles. Let's
I'm very
go.
low. Well, you know what? I'm gonna turn my microphone up, and then we'll go from there.
The
And then also, Josh Patton sitting here in the middle. Wee!
Wahoo!
Yes, the channel is sponsored by Odyssey Games. I'm low compared to the others. Yeah, I'm working on a Babatunde Day. So, channel is sponsored by Odyssey Games. They hooked me up with a ton of boxes, which is why I have all these Lennets now sitting on my desk. And you can go to there. There's a link in the description to be able to get singles and sealed product, especially from the new set. And then also all of the wonderful patrons who helped join the channel as members, as alumni of the channel. You can click that join button down below. Get you all kinds of access to all kinds of cool stuff, including the name badges that you see in some of the people in our chat, as well as the emoji, which are the Force of Will Ruler emoji. So that is a great way to support the channel. It all goes directly into fund channel. Part of that helped to go get the stuff we needed for Worlds this year. So thank you guys who sponsor us that way for that. But enough spiel and enough hawking my own product. So let's get started. We're going to talk about, it's the week after Worlds. It's officially been 1 week at this point since we competed, and Ryan Miles claimed his victory as the world champion.
Yeah, that guy's deck sucked. I really don't know how he won, honestly. We can talk about that if you want.
he's literally said after every victory ever.
Yeah, it's pretty true. Right, so Jeremy's thought process in a deck. Looks at deck. This deck's probably trash, but it's fun, so we're going to try it. Ryan Miles' deck. This deck is probably trash. I think I'll win Worlds with it. It's fine. Oh, Josh is glitching out, but he might be
that was me. I thought that was you guys.
No, I see him now.
So tonight we're going to be talking about this concept of the guy is too humble. We're talking about this idea of how, while you are in a game, like you're sitting down across from your opponent, you're a couple turns in, the game is starting to progress, how you visualize the roadmap to victory from where you're at. It's the idea of saying, looking at this board state, what's my cards in my hand, what am I trying to do to finish? How do I get to closing the game? I think this is a really important thing. We've talked about a lot of stuff in terms of, on the channel before, we've talked a lot about stuff of like doing testing right, doing deck construction right, remembering the matchups correctly and everything else. But we haven't really talked about the idea of when you're in the game, 2 to 3 turns in, and now we got to talk about how do I get to winning from here. Ryan, I have seen you play. I mean, I've watched you play in person, watched you play online, watched you play in GPs, and I also tested with you a lot, and that idea of building the roadmap and kind of talking it through, imagining it in your head, you yourself admit to being a very heavy thinking player. So if there's someone who I think can talk about what that experience looks like or what goes into it, you would be the one that I would want to talk to. So maybe just explain a little bit about what your process is like when you're in a game and how you see the lines or think about the lines that get you to a win.
And how long does it take you to do it?
So that's
long enough that he almost gets a slow play game loss in finals.
Only when there's this bullshit goddamn haiku that I got to think of. Like I think playing the World's Finals is like one of the worst games I've played for a while. Luckily, my deck was actually good enough, and my opponent, for some reason, thought it was acceptable to play 4 white stones. Like, I think that was his biggest blunder, and he got punished for it, and I got rewarded for my deck choices. But in terms of playing the game, I was blanking out a lot and trying to like work under that pressure and like think about the 5-7-5 for a haiku is exceptionally difficult, and I did not perform that day, but luckily I drew better. So hey, but yeah, when it comes to like visualizing the lines of winning a game. I think this is something that a lot of players don't really do in like rogue matchups, especially. Like they know what to do in like the very well tested matchups, but like when I because
Not
like
not matchups with rogues, Josh.
yeah. Like
Rogue
the decks you don't expect to see, right? Like literally anything that's not green white at Worlds, you don't expect to see that, right? So when you're playing against decks that like you're not as comfortable with, you need to understand like what their win condition is, and understanding what your opponent's win condition is also very important to like helping you navigate your own lines. And one of the things I think like as a good example would be like in green white. For the last format at least, there were times where it's just correct to vanilla slam a Kaguya. Like you're not canceling anything, it's just the end of your opponent's turn. They didn't do anything at all, and you're just like, you know what? I need my Chant of Tranquilities online, and I know they don't have counter spells, or like maybe they're punished as like, you know, if it's Isis, they can like red giant me or something. But like sometimes you just have to like play it because you need certain cards in your deck online. Or sometimes you understand that like you're not going to win the late game, so you need to play things very differently than you normally would just to push more damage early. Like the most recent example in my mind is just like playing green white mirrors, because I just like that's the most forceful experience I've had in the past like 6 months probably. Like just getting in that damage with your Calico Cat, even if it means missing a discard zone like thing. Like in top 4 against Ronin, he was very highly valuing his Calico Cat hitting my discard zone. No matter what cards hit my discard zone, he was so focused on keeping me off of Haiku, even in game 1. And I'm like, this guy could be pushing me for 4 like every single turn. But his win con in his mind was more like just getting out of Zeus Alice and doming me for 40 over the course of 4 turns.
Or
but like
infiniting you with Jupiter.
Yeah. But like in my mind, like I know how valuable damage is in that matchup, and I know that like whoever gets on board early and starts pushing damage early has a much easier time playing the game later on, because like boards just get super wide, and then you make attacks with little guys and you can't block because then you're blocking with your big guys, and then like other bigger guys get through. And it's just like understanding that like understanding and visualizing what you winning the game looks like. And it's not always the standard way that you play the game.
We're live right now.
She's got, what about me?
Hi,
Ryan
Emily.
says,
Yeah,
what about
that's
you? What
fine.
about you're not
No,
gonna say
Emily,
hi to
it's
Ryan?
okay.
Who's Ryan?
Yeah, who's that guy?
Say it, Emily. Who's Ryan?
Jeez Louise, I haven't been. We haven't done this podcast in weeks, and it shows.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like you need like sometimes like you have to do different things just because it synergizes with what your win condition is. Like against like if you go back for the past year, right, against Gil especially, like playing against Gil, you are going to do the most obscure things in any single deck that you're playing, just because winning the game against Gil has to happen before turn 6 or turn 5, right? Like if you let the game go too long, they will just beat you. So you need to adjust how you play the game based on what that is. So thinking about like what your early game looks like, what their early game looks like, and what their late game looks like, and what your late game looks like, that's kind of like how you roadmap it. And like I said with the example before with the Kaguya, like sometimes I need to cancel every single spell you play forever because your cards are very valuable. And then sometimes I just need a 7/7 on board and I need to start punching you. And it's about identifying what matchups those are good against and what matchups those are bad against. That like really defines what that roadmap looks like.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I think there's also a lot of importance to recognizing where the finish line is.
Yes.
Because there are in certain games where you can get so caught up in like the back and forth between the decks that you lose sight of the fact that you still have to win. And so you can kind of like cheat yourself out of victory or cheat yourself back into a corner where, sure, you're not losing, but you're also not winning, right? And that's not a good, like that's a neutral game state, and that's where you never really want to be, especially in a competitive mindset. And so I think it's sometimes super important, like Ryan said, like the idea of like hard slamming a Kaguya, even if they didn't play anything, to put that 7/7 body on board, like that is very much a move that says like, okay, cool. So I'm actually trying to win this game. Like this is how I'm going to start poking you. Like this is getting me one step closer to the finish line, rather than just because a cancel by itself. Don't get me wrong, Kaguya canceling something is very, very good. It's a big tempo play. But you still actually have to kill your opponent. Like a cancel isn't lethal. Like a cancel is like a stopper. So you actually still need to get there. And I think especially in control mirrors, players can very easily lose sight of that. And I think it kind of goes back to even in the sense of when we were playing the finals. If you haven't actually seen finals of Worlds, I definitely recommend it. It is a good 90 minutes, and it's super tense. And it's myself and Alex commentating for 90 minutes of some of just phenomenal play from both players. Although Ryan will tell you that he played like crap. But
do you guys know that volley does not count J rulers?
Yeah. As soon as he flashed in the Karura on stream, I was like, "Please activate volley in your hand. Please activate volley in your hand."
So what had happened was he did that. I looked at volley. I saw the word J resonator. I said, yes, that's fine. And then I was like, play volley. He's like, wait. All right, cool. And I'm like, but it says J. Oh,
yeah. The worst part was that
resonator.
The worst part was that you did it in response to the Brunhild block. So I was like, cool. Well, that's just a trade now.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a moment in game 3. There's a big moment in game 3 where I think Alejandro stopped thinking for a second about where the finish line is, and he started thinking of just what does this matchup look like in this moment rather than the full roadmap. And it's the moment where he decided to cancel fight you over that Chance of Tranquility that he paid 3 for on your turn.
Yeah.
like at the beginning of your turn, he decided to fight over this chain. And I think in the moment, if you're thinking control mirror wise, you're like, this is a really big important card if it's in the control mirror because it ramps me ahead and everything else. Ramp is not a victory. Ramp is not a win con. Cancels are not a win con. And so I think there was a moment where that cost him a lot. It cost him a lot to take that trade when that play line wasn't actually getting him close to the finish line. And I think that even speaks to how crazy and important this concept is, because even players at the top tables can lose track of where the win is. And I think so it's really important to kind of consider that. And you even we talked about this a lot at the B&B of this question came up a lot of, do I X here?
Yes.
Is this the fight? Is this where I need to act? Am I okay with this? One of the things that I heard you say so much at the B&B Ryan was I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay with letting that resolve. Because again, in the grand scheme of the map, is that pushing your opponent to a win? Because it can feel very good if you've got a full grip of cancels to just slam every single cancel to stop it. But sometimes it's better to just let some things through that aren't really pushing lethal so that you have the stuff to win later on.
Yeah, basically.
That's one of the big things that we say a lot, it's is this a situation where I care? It's is this a situation that I care? And what you'll often find is a lot of players, when you're playing a game, they'll say a lot of stuff during the course of a game that kind of makes the player seem very nonchalant about your actions, and it's oftentimes in the wordings in which that we allow for stuff to respond. You know what I mean? And that all comes from a lot of practice, because during the course of the tournament, we may be very confident in letting stuff resolve, and it'll come out in some of our demeanor or the words that we choose to use in letting you resolve, right? But exactly. And so, but there was a lot of work that was done behind the scenes before that, where we weren't just yeah, that's fine. We were just wait, is it fine? Yeah. And so oftentimes when you'll see a lot of players, it's yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's cool. Go ahead. Yeah, no problem. And that's all just because of the work that was done behind the scenes.
Yep. It's the idea of you could be plus 20 and still lose.
Yes.
Right? So you can be up 20 cards to 2 and you still lose because you haven't actually done anything that puts you closer to winning. And so it really comes down to that path of cool, I'm stopping every single one of your plays, but how is that actually winning me the game?
Yep.
And there was weird for that reason, because she's also a body.
Yeah.
There's I think 2 things in that that kind of go along with that, and that's how comfortable you are as a player under certain conditions. And so one of them is oftentimes what we've talked about, these decks that just do a lot but don't really go anywhere. You have to become really comfortable as a player watching your opponent play 7 or 8 things and knowing that none of that really mattered. You know what I mean? Yep. Or getting really comfortable playing with low life. That's another situation where
absolutely.
oftentimes players will get very uncomfortable when they're like at less than 10, and they will start to think things are more important than they really are.
Yeah.
And they'll miss these opportunities. So like one of the situations that was kind of like this, I think it was in round 2, maybe. It was Isis versus Shayla.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And there was the basically game 1 when all of a sudden
that was round 3, I think. Yeah.
he bounced something. The Shaler player tapped out pretty early in their turn before the Isis was really doing anything, and they were up by quite a bit of life, the Shaler player. But then by tapping out that early, what they did was they opened themselves up to go like 9 moons, swing with Narla for 50 on.
It was
Pier.
Neo Ragnarok. He tapped out for Neo Ragnarok.
Yeah.
He completely taps out for Neo Ragnarok when he's sitting at like 4 grand life. And there was in his he's a deck that wasn't doing damage. Like that Shayla deck was not doing damage. Like its whole win con was stick Neo Ragnarok, then push in. The problem was he went for that and he tapped out, but his opponent had a bajillion moons and a Nyarlathotep in hand. So it's like, cool, you're the blue deck. Your win con up to this point has been bounce everything and then punish me. And I've chosen to tap out to establish a big board, but now I can't do what my deck was trying to do. So I've fallen short of the finish line, and then Nyarlathotep just came down, swung in for 5,000, and it was like, your biggest thing can't stop all this Pierce.
Yeah, the biggest thing was like a 14 or something. And it was one of those things. It was like where, understanding the matchup in front of you, but then also the Isis, understanding that was the window. Go,
right?
And so the Isis player did a pretty good job of through the course of the game understanding when he needed to go, didn't overextend in a lot of situations, and found that finish line and went for it. Right. Yeah. So that was a pretty good example.
I think another really good example was throughout what we were seeing from green-white decks is there was a mentality of the United States players prior to like the few days before Worlds, like the week before Worlds, that Trow and Chance of Tranquility were not auto 4-ofs because of their cost for 3, and then like what if they get stopped? What if they get countered? But the thing was, Ryan, you did this exceptionally well. A bunch of the other green-white players at the top table, so I think what separated them from the other ones that didn't top is saying, I'm going to do this during upkeep. Yep. And then if you decide to respond to it, you're going to waste a bunch of resources, and then I'm going to recover and go into my turn. Yep. And so Trow and Chance of Tranquility in that environment, like I don't think I saw a single time during Worlds or during testing that if he didn't have 3 will, Ryan ever felt uncomfortable just playing a Chant for 3. He was just like, nope, I'm going to do it. If I have double green and Trow in hand, I'm going to do it. Because it's a safe bet. And it's that idea of in our brains, we go, we want to stop that. But then we forget, oh, wait, this is upkeep. Yeah. Like, that's bad. And I think that was one of the big things that in that mental map of like, do you care about this? And you have to recognize like, oh, wait a minute, I'm burning cards and then he's just going to recover and be way ahead. Sure, I stopped this one piece, but was that the piece that I needed to stop? And I think that's what pushed a lot of the green-white players to top tables, and I think we saw that play out in the final, in the top 8 matches that we watched. Just like that decision-making, using cards as like this bait, forcing your opponent to have to think when they maybe weren't ready to of, do I care about this? Caused people to kind of lose sight of where the victory line was, and then you go from there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best parts of that, like, really made me favor Trow, and like, so one of the things I noticed when playing the green white mirrors was that like if I did
so
fight,
close to its camera. It's so
sorry. Oh yeah. If I did fight over the like if they did ever fight over anything, like green and white decks just could not punish you because everything in their deck was like instant speed. It was designed to be played in your opponent's turn. So if I ever like fought over something before they're untapped and they got to untap with full mana, their best play was pass. And I'm like, cool, like I never get punished. So that's one of the reasons I went to like 4 Trow and then the 4 Chance Tranquility is because I would Chain of Tranquility for 3 before untap, and they would fight over it. And I'd be like, cool, untap, do it again. And now like that one gets to resolve. And because I'm playing so many more copies of ramp than you are, I'm so much more likely to let that actually resolve. And then when like I tap out on my turn and now it's the other green white player's turn, their turn is like, oh, well, I guess like I only have like 1 giant and I have like my 2 Chain of Tranquility. So I just pass and that's it. And like the other players, most of them outside of top 4 in the finals, like did not recognize just how crucial ramping was to actually winning the game. Because you play 12 cancel spells. Like you never did not have enough cancel spells. You only didn't have enough mana to cast it. And that's one of the reasons why I played less white stones than every other player, because white stones you can't play cancel spells off of them.
You played
most
3
of the time.
and then sideboarded
I sided one out.
2.
Yeah, exactly. And like when you saw against in the finals, when in game 3 Alejandro hits white, it's like you can't play your giant now, you can't ramp. And like, yes, your white stones are good for like your removal deck, but you have to side into green. Like you have to side a couple of those out, because like, and it's weird because he's Brunhild, so he wants a bit more white because he needs to flip. He needs, his removal is white as well. He plays more removal than I did. He played the Blade of Faiths and he played Messenger of the Sun and stuff. But like at the end of the day, like the green stones were super crucial. Having more green stones than your opponent was super crucial.
Oh, Alejandro's in the chat. Hey,
Alejandro.
What's up, buddy?
But yeah, that was kind of
that stone got me.
Yeah, no, it's just like you just like the reason that we both played so much ramp is because we needed more stones, but like the big crucial factor is we needed more green stones. So the fact that he played 4 white stones was just like that's what he got punished by it at a very unfortunate timing, and that's what really got him. I think.
For sure. Yeah, I think so in that meta of what it was, the victory line came down to like picking the right fight and then winning it. Like surprisingly enough, in that instance, the cancel war was like the victory line, right? Because like, if you win that, you're just so far ahead. You probably have multiple Kaguya's on board that are pushing damage, where your opponent probably spent a bunch of stuff and lost a bunch of resonators because they didn't get stuff to stick, stuff like that. This meta that we're entering into, the finish line looks way different, particularly because green just lost a bunch of power, particularly because dual stones are now back. So now the like roadmaps are so different, right? The possible play lines. I know that everyone and their uncle is currently complaining about freaking Melgus high rolling you on turn 3 for freaking 37 damage. Congrats, we just have a new Ayu deck. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's the same kind of thing. Like they're saying like, oh, Melgus can high roll you if they have Energize Melgus hit this specific stranger, Judgment hit this specific stranger, God Art this specific stranger, and I'm like, cool. And my opponent has any form of interaction, and it's immediately turned off. But high rolling like that happens, right? And I think that's the concern over it. I think speaks to the fact that in the beginning of the format, when the maps haven't been drawn, turning things sideways is usually very successful.
Right.
But I think it's going to be really important for players as we move into this new meta to start thinking about like, what in this meta do I care about? What in this meta do I want to try to stop? What in this meta is going to get me to winning? Like, I honestly think that low-cost removal in this format is going to be super important, and picking the right thing to kill is going to be the new kind of question of, like, what fight do I fight over? It's going to be, what am I using my removal on? What is the most important part? But you have to be thinking about that. So for those of you who are watching, start putting in that practice. Start putting in that concept of, like, what if he hits this? I would even say in testing, in my opinion, I would say the cool thing about when you're doing testing, and we've talked about this before, is testing is not about winning. Testing is not about like beating your opponent. Testing is about like seeing how the deck plays. So the beauty of the Stranger deck is you can falsify what your opponent is going to stranger into to put yourself in the situation you want to learn from, like in testing. So like if I'm playing a blue-white deck and I want to learn the Malgus matchup, I want to tell my opponent, like, cool, when we're testing and you hit a stranger, you're going to look at your strangers and pick the like best one for the circumstance so that I can try to fight my way out of it, right? Like you're going to want to take away that randomness. It's the same thing with like runes in a sense. Like runes, when you were doing testing, you could always have like, okay, what rune is the best rune for right now? And then you could play through it. So when you're doing your testing with strangers, have your opponent's choice of stranger not be random. Like make it Like, this is the worst stranger for me possible. How do I get out of it? And I think that's going to help you start to learn what's important, what's not important, when do I remove, when do I respond, stuff like that. And I think you're going to get a pretty big leg up on the meta if you do that.
One of the biggest things that I think Ryan was just talking about, like when he was talking about playing stuff in the beginning of his upkeep and shrinking what available resources his opponent had during his turn, like that I think will be very important in this meta. You know, if you can shrink their stone base down to like a certain amount during your turn, really limits the amount of stuff that they can do. Also, if you study the database and you figure out, you know, exactly, you know, just memorize what the mage arts are, memorize what the sword arts are, understand what the regalia can play when they're left up during your turn and stuff along those lines, then what happens is you as a player, you can get really comfortable during your turn understanding what your opponent can do during theirs. That is one of the biggest things that I love to do as a player is I love to shrink what my opponent can do during my turn. You know, and what that does is that makes the paths and play lines clearer for me. Like I know one of the things that I still struggle with to this day is like when someone like Ryan is sitting across from me and he goes like 7 stones pass, and I'm just like, well, fuck. He can play 37 cards and he can do them all twice. You know, I don't, you know, like that is a huge like tree for me. And so like what I'll oftentimes do is shrink that the best ways that I can. And so like when I was watching Worlds, I was watching a lot of the ISIS players play stuff before they swing. This is one of those situations where like you always want to do the clear stuff first in your turn to bait out interaction.
Absolutely. I saw so many ISIS players who were like, tap all my moons, play a bunch of stuff, then I'll swing. And I was like, no,
then I'll try to swing with this thing. And now all of a sudden, like that bounce spell feels a lot better because you've just wasted all your resources and you showed your opponent, like, I'm not going to do anything other than swing with this thing. And they're like, cool, I got an answer for that thing. But if you swing first, then what happens is you're flipping the table on them. They have to interact with that. They're either going to take
hold on. They're ISIS, right? So they don't play table flip. I thought that's what we were. Did you miss me?
I did.
Which one of us as a kid? I don't. That's a dad joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like, and so when you're playing and you're trying to figure out these play lines and these roadmaps to victory, shrinking the options that your opponent has in the cheapest ways that you can do it. So swinging with your resonators before you recover, playing crap before you untap like Ryan was doing. These are all things that you do to shrink what your opponent can do for you and increase what you can do for your turn. And it also brings out all these options, right? So like, and that's something that I noticed a lot for Worlds, and I definitely want to get on blast and talk about that.
It was kind of interesting because you said like that when a player like me like leaves open 7 and says pass, you think about 37 options. But when I'm against a good player, like someone I know, like I actually feel like there's less options available because I can cycle through like all of the playable cards. But when I'm against someone that I don't know, that's when I have to go through every single possible card that could exist. And I start thinking about like, what are cards that I might write off as like unplayable because of like, they're not good enough of the time, but against players I don't know, like they're good enough, just like they've been good enough in their own personal testing or at their locals where like suddenly that card is in their deck and now I have to play around it.
See, but this is a totally different Ryan Miles because I think you can go back to a podcast back when I was a nobody, right? And I was watching Ryan Miles trying to be like a big star one day. Like Ryan said in a podcast once that if you are not playing these best cards, then it doesn't matter what you're playing because it's not good
most of the time. But in the moment, when I'm against someone that like in theory, out of 10 games, I should beat them 7 times. But like maybe this is one of those 3 times where they goon me with a card that I just completely forgot about. Like this is the first event ever where I've ever respected a main deck miscalculation. And like sometimes people have just played miscalculation before, and I'll be like attacked, they'll be miscalc. I'm like you got me, but why? You know, like this format's a bit different because like the white removal is so
and then the only time he disrespected miscalculation was when he didn't try to give barrier before swinging for guaranteed lethal.
I couldn't think. My brain was on the fritz. But yeah, like I think CCG Genesis is like in the chat right now, and I played against him at like I think Orlando. It was either Orlando or Charlotte. No, it was Orlando, and I played against him round 1, and he's tapped out, and I'm like attacking him, and I attack with like one dude. He's like, okay, and I'm like, were you thinking about something? He's like, no, it's okay. I'm like, attack with this guy, and he's like thinking, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like I'm literally like racking my brain for like every card in existence for like what could possibly be happening. And when I finally go for lethal, this man goes a rival of the hero, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's not just an IU card. I forgot that existed, and I was like, oh. Like he has an IMOL that's like jacked there in the field, and I like lose my lethal, and now he's draining me, and I'm like, Jesus, I just like forgot what cards existed in this format all the way into like I'm fighting for my life in round 1. And like sometimes that happens. Like it's so much more terrifying to play against people you don't know when like every card is on the table than it is to be like, all right, this person, like I respect their like deck building prowess because I've seen them before. I've seen them deck build before, and like I know that there are only like a certain number of cards that could possibly be playing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a card right now that I think people aren't giving enough, at least in testing, in my brain with what we're talking about of like this pre-untap, like this shenanigans. There's a card that's in the starter deck that I legitimately think is insane in Faria.
Okay.
It's the 3-cost multimodal blade art for her because it just searches Excalibur from deck and brings it straight to play.
Casually opens up the database.
Yeah, it's like a summoning of like Awakening of the Sacred Queen or something.
Awakening of the Okay.
One of its modes is get Excalibur from deck and put it onto field.
Oh.
So, like, the idea of, hey, during upkeep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have it hit field. Faria's going to trigger. I'm going to get 2 things off of it. I'm going to use those 2 will from Excalibur to play a thing. And then I'm going to move to upkeep, where I can use Excalibur again. Like, like that card to me seems like a card that I think people are going to need to watch for. Obviously, everyone's freaking worried about turn things sideways Melgus, and I get it. It's the beginning of a format. Red things sideways. Green just lost a bunch of power. But I think there's still a lot more meta to be explored, and I guarantee you if I do that to someone at locals, and I'm just like, cool, I'm going to pay 3 total, and I'm going to play like 9 will worth of cards during my upkeep, and then I'm going to recover, and then I'm going to Judgment Faria for free and kick your teeth in. Like, it's going to feel great, and someone's not really going to be thinking about it. Regalia Break definitely helps. Yeah, that's a good card.
Yeah. I think the 3 decks, and I haven't spent a whole lot of time with the new set, but the 3 decks that stick out to me more than anything are Melgus and Isis, because they have essentially 3-color perfect mana almost, right?
Right.
And then Perfect Loki, because Perfect Loki just like has like I was helping Jake Adame build a Melgus deck before the day 2 tournament. We were testing against Cole, and then Cole judged on us on like turn 1, and I was like, wait. You can't just do that to a person, right? And I'm like, how do I counter that? We have Lorite, right? No. We have Evil Elemental Uprising, right? No. It's like, oh, that's like kind of a problem. Like, because the Fender, like Resonator lets you like J early. They had a Bluestone.
If you have a coin, like if you have coin, Coinstone.
Yeah,
Loki,
that happened, and it was like, oh, like that's a thing, and like just Perfect Loki just gets a lot of value nowadays because of there's less graveyard interaction, but then like Perfect Loki like gets to do more, and there's no more Lorite, so yeah, right. I think
inner effects, grave interaction, like all of it's back on the table, so.
Yeah, and then Isis has red, black, white, has Nyarlathotep more consistently because you have dual stones now. You get to play the black stuff, like Power Immortality more consistently. All the stuff that Isis has been doing with 100% less Lorite. And like most of the times I actually beat Isis in testing, it wasn't even like countering their stuff, it was just Loriting their abilities. And then like I played a game against Jake in testing where like he would like play a Nyarl, and I'm like, I can't cancel it, but like I can stop you from like shooting my blockers, and then I block with a Lorite, pump it with a Saintly Elvenstone, and then it's like, oh, here's 2 damage, your Nyarlathotep dies, and that just gets the job done. Like that's all off the table now. So like green decks really don't have a lot to answer red decks anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's that's the scariest thing to me. And of course Melgus has like the turn 3 deal the billion damage, but it's also just got a like Melgus and Isis both like between Guinevere, Rook Egg, Guiber, Percival just has a lot of card generation And like I think they're gonna function most competitively as mid-range strategies where they are aggressive and you have to answer them, but then they also never run out of cards, and they from turn 3 onwards throw 20 damage at you each turn that you have to deal with, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think there's Lenneth is the one that I think is kind of the weakest of the three, but she has the most like deck building versatility in terms of the different ways you can build her. But if you want to build a red white deck, I think you play Isis. It's just better because you ramp and you just accept that you're not going to play strangers, and I think you're fine with it. Because the other thing is something kind of terrifying about having an Athena on board and then having like 8 stones, and you're just like, cool, gain 16 life, put a bajillion counters on Athena, go to my turn.
No, you don't gain 16. It's like that's math at that point, right? You gain 2, and then you gain 2, but then you gain 4, and then you gain.
What? I don't even know what we're talking about.
Because each time you gain life, you gain 2 counters, right?
Right.
So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Oh yeah, Athena. Okay.
Athena.
Yeah, this is
when you get turn 3 Lich with Alter, just 4 drop cards out of their
cheat code. The cheat code with her is never white, red. It's white, red. Once you do one white, you're never doing white again. It's all red from there. Like, take that home with you and try it.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking like, all right,
Athena.
Yeah, you use one white, and then that's it. Then you're always using red. She has drain, so you are literally never using white. You are always pinging and gaining more life than you ever could with a white.
That's fair.
Ladies and gentlemen, right here, you heard it first. Cheat code white, red.
I'm playing that card in my my deck tomorrow. So thank you for reminding me of that.
You are welcome.
Let's just play some Vlad. Let's play some Vlad mirrors. You guys ready?
No.
Or like Mikage mirrors, where both people had like 29 counters and the game was unwinnable.
I feel like double white is the part I hate about this card. I just feel like the decks that like actually want to play white, like the only white you play in like a red deck are the red white stones, and then she's double red, so you're playing her like turn 4, turn 5. I don't know. I feel like because of how much card draw the red decks actually have off the back of Rook Egg, Percival, Guinevere. Like Guinevere is like the disgusting part, but even without seeing Guinevere, like you still have like the other cards that just like get you a lot of cards by itself. Like Melgus has Stranger Generation, all that stuff. I feel like cards that cost 3 like are actually so hard to play because like on turn 3 you're like, I could play the straight drop, or I could play 3 broken cards that cost 1, and one of them could be a Guiber. Like that's just kind of where I'm at in terms of like when I was building the red decks. I wanted 1-drops and 2-drops, and if a card costs 3, it better say suck my dick and win the game. In that order, right? If it did in the other order, I'm not playing it. Like that's just like it's so hard to like find time to play those when your 1-drops are so insanely good. So
here's a question that I have because I have some decision making. I want your opinions for this deck that I'm playing for this week on the channel. Do I play 4 Dark Alices or do I play 4 Guineveres? It is a red-white deck.
Okay, what do you mean or? I'm confused.
I don't have enough room. I don't have enough room for both.
What is your stone base?
It is...
Is it 10 red?
It is not 10 red.
Is it 10 white?
It is 4 white-blue, 4 red-white, and 2 of the matching my ruler, and the ruler's Lenneth. So
4 dark.
Dude, that's
6 red.
That's 10 white.
Yeah,
that's 10 white.
Oh,
yeah, so it's 4 Dark Alice.
Yeah.
So it's definitely Dark Alice.
Yeah. Do you play Guiber?
All day.
You don't play Guiber?
Nope.
Like one of my favorite plays right now is like Dark Alice before untap and then play a 1-drop like Guiber. So
yeah, I'm well aware of that. I just wanted to play my goddesses. I got these goddess promos.
I got that, but could you please play 4 Guiber in your 10 white stone deck with 4 Dark Alice? Don't even play Guinevere. Just play. Take up the Guinevere, put in Guiber. I hate saying that out loud, but like. You have 10 white stones. Just do it.
I'm not going to. I'll build a crazy dragon deck. I'm going to build a freaking red, white, blue Fushi dragon deck. Let's go.
Like Dark Alice definitely makes the Turbo Guiber deck like draw way better than the original Turbo Guiber
you like get to see 8 cards in your deck before you Guiber. As long as the hard part is playing 10 white stones, right? Because Guinevere is so good that you don't want to play white blue. I think.
Potentially. We'll see. White blue has some of the most cost-effective removal in the entire format currently.
Oblivion Ring is a card. Yeah, I don't even know.
Dude, O-ring, right?
Yeah,
dude, that's an O-ring.
Yeah,
Dude, like we were talking about like O-ring, play O-ring, then play Dark Alice, banish your O-ring so that things like banished forever.
That is
Oh,
a
no,
hard,
so here's-
hard
so
reason
here's-
to play.
stuff.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting thing that you can do. With that, if you have like
More
Dark Alice,
interesting.
is if you're playing white-blue with Dark Alice, Seal of Lenneth, and Vala, you play Vala, take their thing.
Vala? What the hell's
Yeah,
a
the
Vala?
Oh,
two-drop-
yeah.
The 2-drop swap.
The
two-drop
two-drop
swap.
switchy switch.
Oh,
So you play,
yeah.
you pay Vala for 2, take their thing, Seal of Lenneth your Vala, and then you just sit on it. And then you're just like, cool, that's a thing that I would like to take. Flash in Dark Alice, sack Seal. Here comes Vala. Vala switches again. I'm going to take your thing. Thanks for playing a Resonator for me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, you can just instant speed Vala. Remember instant speed Triton? That was a thing for a while. It's
Yeah,
just instant speed permanent Triton.
Yeah. No, I think that white is like kind of the sleeper, and I need to experiment a bit more with it because it is like
Dude,
the white
how
blue stuff
is-
is really good.
Dude, there's no such thing as a sleeper when like 50% of the set is that color. Like you
Oh,
can't
yeah, but it's in terms of
But,
actually being
red,
like,
red
playing
is
deck.
the go-to, right? Like
Right,
red
red's
is like
the obvious choice.
Isis and
America.
Melgus are very strong. Even
America.
Adam Seacart like is still playing the Kaguya, is still playing green. I think that's also
I think
very,
blue
very
white.
strong.
I think blue white Adam actually has something there. I
Blue White
talked about
Adam
it
has been the cluster deck for like a hot minute, right?
I-
It just got
like,
way better.
with
That's terrifying.
with the idea of, because now we don't have green easily accessible, right? But we have blue
Right.
white stones, which is great, and we also have that deck now that it doesn't necessarily have to care about Calico Cat at all. Can replace the Calico Cats with the Angel of Zeus, so you can just like have quick cast all your stones are blue white, which is great. But then also with the forest, you can go, cool, I'm gonna play this forest, and then it's just gonna casually sit there, and then you're gonna forget that I have a Kaguya in my grave. I'm gonna flash in Kaguya and cancel your shit. Like, it's probably the deck that has the easiest time playing Kaguya right now, but also because it has Dark Alice, you can just play whatever color you want anyway. But I think that blue white is the not obvious choice, but I think by the end of this format, blue white's gonna be the deck.
I think by the end of this podcast, I'm gonna be on blue white. So
Jeremy's
I'm
thoroughly
already like,
convinced.
hold on a second. Like everything that you have said has intrigued me, and I already knew that blue white was like pretty good for cluster because I was looking at
What you know about having 4 or 8 1-drop instant speed removal spells?
I played only 6 at Worlds, but it was not enough. I think. Yeah, that's crazy. All right. Yeah, I think red is like. So I think that Melgus is like a bit ahead of its time. I think that Isis is terrifying strictly because Lorite's gone.
Yeah.
But like when you don't have Keys' Calling more, do you? You just have Erendite.
Erendite, which is another motivation for blue.
Yeah, you have Erendite and Kaguya. That maybe that's enough for blue white to do something. If you do get access to the green somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
I mean,
Problem
blue
is
white,
Erendite doesn't hit J rulers, which sucks.
but blue white is doing all the removal stuff too. So like that
Yeah,
feels.
it does. But like it's hard to remove near Althotep with blue white removal. If they get to unfettered moon generation, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, the 1-drop white kills Nyarlathotep instantly because it removes her
True.
from the game because she has more than 900 attack.
Yeah. She does. That's pretty fun. I like
Blue
that.
white can also play Shakti, and people don't think about that. You don't even have to have
Shak-
red black stones. You can just play
Dee?
Shakti in blue white.
Because of Dark Alice
With
or
Lars.
with Lars? Oh shit. What? But is it even
Oh,
good
we're
with
playing
Shakti?
Lars.
We're playing everything, man. I built some jank for the channel. Remember what I
Is
said
it-
before? I'm gonna build
Is
this deck, and
Shakti
it's
even
probably gonna
good?
be
'Cause
bad.
all the sword arts are like are red black, aren't they?
No, blue white's
But
also sword
No, blue
arts.
white's got sword art.
I have no idea like what the sword arts are, honestly. I
It's just
legitimately-
all the special spells for Fari and Melgus.
Yeah.
Lars costs 3. I'm already
Yeah,
ahead of
yeah, no, you're not there.
not there.
Not there. Okay. Oh, we got a board wipe. Hey, what's up? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that 4-drop board wipe. Yeah.
Is that bad? Probably.
No.
Sorcery
Yeah.
speed.
No,
All
it's
right.
never bad.
There's a lot
Never
of swiftness, right? Lancelot costs 1 mana.
Hold on.
dude.
Think about it. Is that a
Lancelot's
sword
costs-
art though?
Lancelot
Hold on.
costs 2.
Holy Nova.
No, March
Sword
of the
art.
Dead costs 1.
Oh,
Holy Nova's a
Lancelot
sword art,
costs
right?
1. Holy Nova? Oh, yeah, it's the board wipe, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
that's
sword
only a
art.
2 cost. That's a 2 cost.
It's
Okay.
still
with
no.
Excalibur.
I'm not. Am I playing Excalibur in a non-white blue deck? I feel like I'm playing Divinity in white
Wait,
blue.
what are you playing? Why are you looking at white blue cards if you're not playing a white blue deck?
We're talking about Adam white blue, bro.
Yeah, Adam white blue. I'm not playing Excalibur. I meant, sorry. I don't know.
I think you still do because there's the 3-drop. Get it at instant speed.
Yeah, this is hard. I haven't read all the white blue cards. I just read like a couple of them and said O-ring's good, and then went back to red black and was like, ha 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 ha. But now what does parry do? Prevent all damage. Draw
just
imagining. Hell yeah.
I'm imagining Adam Seacart like wielding Excalibur, and I'm just like, this is wrong.
I'm pissed off.
I have a sword.
So red-green Chamini only loses Atarectia, right?
Yes.
It loses like some other like tertiary stuff that wasn't like the core of the deck. You still have like untap my 8/8 and then deal 4,000 damage in a turn.
You lose Nullstone as well, but then you also just get a better red blackstone, so it's fine.
Yeah, it seems fine. We lose Majin Dark Elf, but I wasn't thrilled about that card to begin with. I like playing more green stones.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's like on my mind as far as green decks go, but like, I think we do have to wait until set 2 to really put them again.
Yeah, let's talk about set 2. So as much as we haven't even seen a single event in this format outside of the World's Day 2 format, which I don't think counts because everyone was just scrambling with what cards they had.
Yeah, if we had known beforehand that was the event,
right?
But have brought more red black shit.
But day set 2, we know that the 2 structure deck rulers at this point are Valentina and Prisia, with the set ruler, the one that's like the new Lenneth, is essentially Machina. Is most likely Machina. But this brings up an interesting question. If all the rulers are dual color, Machina was void, right? So how do we give him a color identity? And what do you guys think that Prisia and Valentina will end up being?
Well, Machina was already kind of synergized with 2 different colors. Like I know there was green machines for a while, but then we've also got last set with blue machines. But then they also printed the Vingolf Machina in black blue. Yeah, so I could probably see a black blue Machina. Prisha is probably going to be green. Fuck, what do you
green
do,
something,
Prisha?
Right?
Priscia's green red, right? Because she was green red. Is that?
No. Oh God,
on
she
the
was,
nose?
wasn't she? When she was
originally green red, right?
Yeah.
God, but I swear, if they make her broken again and have to ban her, I am just.
Someone is saying so. CCG Genesis puts an interesting point out, which is what if Priscia becomes the first 4 mana because she was technically 4 will.
The 4 sacred beast.
Because she had the 4 sacred beasts.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be neat.
She was what all except for black, right?
No, she was everything except for black. Yeah, no black. So like
Suddenly
Priscia's not going to touch black.
I don't know if they can print a 4-color ruler when they already have the stone that says this produces will of any color of your ruler. That would be.
We've already had.
Back.
Yeah.
That would be insane.
But then Val also is probably going to be Val's probably going to be blue green.
So yeah, that's the interesting part about this, right? Is because for the dual color like lineups for this cluster, so far the only thing we've seen is that the set ruler shares a color. The 2 set ruler colors share colors with the 2 structure deck rulers. That's the only thing we've seen. However, there's nothing guaranteeing that that's the rule. So, however, if that is the rule, I think there's credit to the idea of Priscia being green-red, Machina being blue-red, and Valentina being blue-black. Because the idea of machines with steam and heat and water kind of thing, I could see that. And then we obviously know Valentina is corrupt as hell, so darkness makes sense there, but also water. And then Priscia being green-blue or green-red, as we've seen her in the past with like aggression and stuff like that.
Are we not getting a green ruler next set? I thought.
I just said green-red.
Priscia. Okay.
Priscia would be green-red, Machina would be blue-red, and then so we'd be done with. We'd have all the combinations of red at that point.
It makes more sense to me that they would add like so. Right now we have 2 combinations of red, and then 1 of black, and then 1 of white, or two of red, 2 of white, 1 of black, 1 of blue. Right. It makes more sense to me that they would give us 2 of green, and then 2 of either black or white, and then no red.
2 of black or
Yeah, like no red would be my like imagining, but
Yeah, I think no red would make the most sense. I like the one that I have the one that I'm most confused about is
Mhm.
Prisia, because we've seen Prisia as a base green, we've
Yeah.
seen Prisia interacting with all four colors, we've seen super
Mhm.
aggressive Prisia being being
Okay, we have seen green
red.
blue. We've seen green blue Prisia
We've
because
also
of the
seen green
shifter
blue
thing.
Prisia, right?
So that would be like
Wait, what?
my
Wait, what was
the
that?
shift Prisia.
Shift Prisia, which you got
With
Ah,
Valentina.
oh, but that's Valentina. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that would
But
be
also
like
at the
my
same time,
leaning.
like green blue is like nature, right? Because the
Hmm.
stone is deep wood.
Right.
So like that kind of lines up with
Mm.
probably what Prissy is going to be. Like I don't think they're going to follow the same rule in terms of the sharing of the color combinations for this set as we've seen before.
Oh, I think they will. If I had to bet, like if I was a betting man and if I had a gambling problem, I would definitely say that green is going to show up in two rulers
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Guarantee Prisha and then guarantee one of the other
So
ones.
that
And I don't know
means
if it's going to be valid.
so if we're
I
talking
think.
about if we're talking about Valentina being blue black and then Prissia being green blue, then that would mean that the shared color, like the Machina, would probably have to be green black, which feels really weird because Rezard.
Yeah, no. So, all right, let's take that back a little bit. Do we think Valentina is already corrupted? Like,
Well, the spirit of Valentina was one hella corrupted lady, like from the get go.
from the so the
Yeah.
origin story on this is we're already possessed.
I think Vala is Valentina, so I think there's a little bit of like that kind of starts out blue but is kind of stealthy corrupting people.
See, I stopped assuming that by looking at a drawn thing that it was
I was
the
going
same
by the
as
name.
another.
I was going by the name. The name Vala
I
sounds
have
a
no
lot
idea, like
Valentina.
Mojart and Valentina, and I was just like,
Mojart.
realized the same artist just draws all the women the same.
Right, that's fair.
But yeah, no, I would actually, depending like on the beauty side of Valentina, I almost think that oh fuck no, we already had blue white.
Yeah, it can't be blue white again.
Yeah, but blue black. I mean, blue black's not like that was super corrupt, right?
That was Valentina 3, right?
Yeah,
Val 3.
I don't
Val
think
3.
we would go that route. She's
I would
got to
say
be paired with
blue-green,
something else,
right? Valentina gets the blue green.
I think
it gets the green.
I think
white?
it very much could.
Green black, maybe.
Green white Priscia, and then we have white blue.
Okay,
for
but
Machina.
hold on.
White blue for Machina would make sense because no other the other 7 kings had
Wait,
that
why
kind of
white
color.
blue?
But sorry, we just had white blue. So
We just had very okay, but do you believe that the new company would print the second booster box with not shit for green in it?
Oh no, there's definitely green.
Then both of our starter decks can't be green.
Right.
I think. Well, both of our starter decks are red, black, and white, blue, right? And
Yeah,
then
but if
the
you look at
link
the
was
set,
red, white.
it is red, white. The whole boosters
Set
box. No, this one is red, white. It's
because the booster promo was red, white. So they took the red from one, white from the other. So I think we get.
So think about it. Think about it.
Machina probably has some green in him.
Has to have some green in it.
And
no
then,
doubt has to have some green.
So
There's no way they print a second box with no green.
There also is some credit to the idea that Machina could be green-red because this is pre him becoming a machine.
I just don't think we're getting any red. I think red is.
I think
if we're cutting a color, it's got to be red. Like that. It's the one we already got twice.
So we're talking about Machina being green, and then something else.
There's a world where we cut white, but is that
green white? For
if we cut white instead, so we have to cut red or white, right?
Yeah, I think we cut red or white, and I think we cut red because red we've seen 3.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
We've seen what? 3?
Sorry, we've seen 2.
Yeah, we've seen 2. I mean, it's equal. It could be red or it could be white. I would say, it's gonna be 1. I don't know, but going along with this though, on the design side, do you think it would be a mistake that new Machina and the machines share the same color as the machines from the last set?
Blue? I think it would be correct.
Do you think it would be correct to make the machines that
blue
synergy,
green?
the Arthur?
Oh my god!
I mean, it already is though. Like,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. If it's just
already
green,
has that color,
terrifying.
Yeah, right. That's where I'm at. I'm with Ryan. Like, I don't know because like the new company does crazy shit. Like, we already know this, right? So like if they were just like, all right, cool, look at this stuff that we already almost did. We almost tipped the scale on machines. Now watch this. Hold my beer.
Hold my
Hold my
beer.
beer. Just
We're gonna have Machina, and he's gonna be blue-green. Let's go.
Green,
I'm
white.
scared.
I could see green, white Machina or green, blue Machina. I could see either one.
I don't know.
If Machina is green, white, which is weird because that's kind of always been Arla's color pie.
Well,
Then
Arla's got to be white.
Arla's been green. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Arla's
First
color
Flight
pie
Memoria.
it's been green, white. So like Arla's part of the color pie has been green, white. Priscia hasn't really her way down the line slice of the color pie was green red. Valentina has been base blue. The weirdness is we're trying to assign a color identity to a ruler whose initial color identity was void.
Yeah.
Right? So what? So that becomes weird because there's a total of 10 color combinations.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got 7 at this point in time. We have
7 kings.
7 kings plus Lenneth. Right? So we know that the 7 kings initially, the closest color identity has been Rezard green-black, Melgus red-black, Faria blue-white, Priscia green-red, also green-blue, potentially based on when you're meeting up with her in the timeline. Valentina blue-white, Valentina blue-black, Faria blue-white, and then Arla green-white. So then we have red-white, which is covered over here, but we still don't have black-white. That color identity is completely up for grabs.
Actually,
and we don't have blue-red. Blue-red and black-white are the sleeper colors right now.
I don't know where those even go. Priscia, black, white. There we go.
All right. So Lapis. We already know Gil Lapis is on an image.
Yeah.
He was in an image in this set. So Lapis is chilling on this place right now. He's on this plane. He's chilling. Who's with him?
Alice.
Oh.
I don't think so. I think if Gil Lapis is here right now, it's I think at this point in time, if Gil Lapis is here, it's pre-Luminaries. So I don't think Soul.
Whoa, no, because the Taboo story was between Gil and between Rhea Cluster and Ataractica, right? His whole thing. Oh wait, hold on.
Someone's saying Aaron Harris. Why not another Void Machina? If there are 3 rulers for each set of Alice Origins, and there's 12 rulers for the cluster, Machina could be an outlier. Definitely true.
Who is Soul? Soul was working for Daddy Gil, right?
Yeah, so was
okay. So that's out.
No, he was working for Mercurius and he was working for Daddy Gil.
Yeah, because he was involved there.
Gil Alhamad was also
Gil Alhamad is the one who had the corrupted luminaries. Lapis was trying to go against Big Daddy. So I think that there's some merit to the idea of Alice being our ruler, other than the fact that she's been a resonator already. But also at the same time, Alice is just shows up whenever Forza Wilco decides to pay Wednesday money for art.
I mean, you're right. You're right. She was 5 colors.
We got 12 colors. We got 10 colors, 12 rulers. We got to make. All right. Well, Machina's void. We need one extra. Alice. There we go. We're geniuses. This is out. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Take my money.
Not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm about it.
The other thing is too, we are probably gonna have a void ruler because freaking the starter deck plus Ghost in the Shell.
Wow, yeah.
Oh god, we do got to think about that. Okay, actually,
so what if Machina is Ghost in the Shell?
Okay, hold on. So I actually forgot about this. So this actually makes sense because I was trying to think how they were. I think there's only going to be 3 stories in Alice.
You think
and I was trying to figure out what the 4th one was going to be, and it's just the flipping the promo cluster, yeah.
But also, Ghost in the Shell is a mini booster. It's not a full size booster. It's a structure deck and a mini booster.
But I mean, hold on. The stuff we're dealing with right now is a mini booster. We're going back to 63 card sets.
That's true.
These are mini. So what's mini?
The double mini?
20 cards.
I don't even know.
Oh man. The questions.
Yeah, there's going to be a Ghost in the Shell starter deck plus a Ghost in the Shell little bonus supplemental set. It's probably going to be like a Vingol, like Caster Chronicles did some of these where it was like a 12-pack box, and it was like a 40 to 45 card set.
Like a play set of everything, though.
Ooh, super focused in on your cup. I don't know exactly how it was. I'd have to ask Colin from TCG Scrubs because I know they play casters. So, but we could go down the speculation road a different time because it is time to call it for the evening. Super awesome to see so many people active in the chat. Thank you guys so much. We hope you guys have enjoyed what you've experienced tonight. If you liked it and want to consider supporting us, click that join button down below and become an alumni of Ruler School. Get your name in all kinds of different places in the credits, submit your deck list to the channel to get featured, all kinds of cool stuff. And of course, gets us a lot of support to be able to do cool stuff and make upgrades. But until next time, however, again, thank you guys so much for hanging out. We'll see you guys again back here next week and check out the feature match. It'll be
Weekly?
The feature match will be next week. Hopefully later this week, we have some Rogues Guild free-for-all gauntlet videos up on the channel.
Ooh, we're doing the free-for-all, eh?
Yeah, I mean, you got to get me footage, and once we get footage, we can upload it. But
that's true.
Footage later this weekend. Oh yes, also Todd Dreisbach, go ahead and put a link in the chat, buddy. I'll put it there. There is a special 40 Dual Stones of Christmas Wanderer event coming up at Portal Comics and Games, where the GP was held. Todd has put in a bunch of work to get a bunch of textless Japanese Dual Stones, which are dope. So definitely go consider checking those out. And then yeah, just put a link in the chat, Todd, and I'll approve it so you can get links to that there as well. But until next time, however, this has been myself, Jeremy Franklin, and I have been joined hopefully on a permanent basis by Ryan Miles and Josh Patton. And we will see you all next time. So until then, class dismissed.